been so loud in the way that you've been vocal, in the way that you've been sharing the videos and the images and the like. And this is not a small thing. It's such a big thing that last week they forced the sale of TikTok to a consortium of Zionists in order to silence your da'wah. The spokesman at the White House said that one of the reasons that the purchase of TikTok has to go through is that we need to retrain the algorithm. What they mean is we need to alter what da'wah Americans can hear. We need to alter what messages the Americans can hear. The truth was too much. Now we need to go and establish filters for that truth, because when Americans actually hear the truth, they end up lobbying against the Zionists, and they end up asking, why is it that we give Israel the priority? Why is it that in Congress China is not the priority, Ukraine is not the priority, but banning people from boycotting Israel is the priority? You'll remember that when Congress tried to pass a bill, it was presented by a Zionist lobby, because again, Israel first, not America first. They wanted to fast track a bill that would ban your ability to boycott Israeli products. If you were caught boycotting, the bill proposed that you could be fined $1 million and you would serve jail time. Does anyone know who campaigned to have the bill removed? Marjorie Taylor Greene. وما أدراك. Marjorie Taylor Greene ended up coming out and saying, I do not understand, I as an American, why we are fast tracking and prioritizing a bill in which the US has no interest in. It was one of the most unlikeliest sources, but the reason Marjorie was made aware of it is because ordinary Americans like yourselves, you made it a topic. When you received the news of Gaza, when you received it in the cave of Hira, when you received it, the news of Gaza, and you went to the middle of Mecca, you went to the middle of America and you shouted from the center of the Mecca, and sorry, that was a genuine mistake. You in the center of America, and you said, oh people, be righteous people, be just. Oh people, stop following these false idols. Stop following these false narratives. Stop following these false stories. They said, but we saw our fathers upon this as well. It's something America has always done, they said. That's not what Quraysh, that's what they said. It's something that Americans have always done. And the Muslims responded and said, no, it is not. Here is the truth. Here is what's happening. Here's Sidra's legs blown off. Here's Hind Rajab, a 6-year-old, being shot by 360 bullets. When the news wasn't enough, people went to make a movie about it that got the longest standing ovation at the Cannes Film Festival and made Hollywood stars, وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا Hollywood. Hollywood stars come out and do videos saying Palestine needs to be free. Palestine needs to be free. The carnage in Gaza needs to stop. In other words, America started changing from places that you didn't even think it could be changed. Not because there's any treachery in the message that we are giving. Not because there's any hoodwinking in it. All we did was show the truth of what's happening. And the fitra in the hearts of the Americans started resonating so much that a random individual called Zohran Mamdani went to run up against a guy called Andrew Cuomo, an establishment candidate. And Mamdani was 20 points behind Cuomo. And Mamdani didn't know how he's going to plug that gap. Until one day, he noticed something. Cuomo went on to an interview and spoke 90% about the Israelis. Next morning, he woke up, the poll showed that Cuomo had dropped. Then Cuomo went again, I love Israel. And he dropped. So Mamdani went, Israel has the right to exist as a one-state solution with equal rights. And he went up, and he went, Allah. And then he said, if Netanyahu comes here, I would arrest him. Cuomo dropped, and he went up. And then he said, I wouldn't visit Israel, I'd stay in New York. And then he started shouting from the rooftops, and he smashed Cuomo. Why? 25% of the voters in the New York primary were first-time voters. It's a new generation of Americans. They're not Muslim. It's a new generation of Americans who heard your voice and heard your da'wah, and Cuomo, backed by millions in lobbying power, failed to beat a green politician called Mamdani. But they said New York was a fluke. New York is always a bit funky. Then a man came, Umar Fatah, from the great lands of Minnesota. Umar Fatah decided to run in the primary. Tim Walz wanted another candidate to win, the governor. The other Democrats wanted another person to win. But Americans had seen the light. Americans said, why on earth are we doing all this stuff for the Israelis? We have no benefit for ourselves. The party establishment said, listen, We have always done this. We saw aba'una, we saw our fathers and mothers. They all used to do this before. They said, no, we're a new generation. We came with the haqq. That the reality is, this is a genocidal apartheid state that has no place in this world or under this international order. Omar Fatah ended up winning. Tim Walz still hasn't endorsed him because now it's a panic mode. It's how do we deal with this growing sentiment where this is not some sort of extreme view. This is Americans now making it mainstream that genocide is wrong, that we don't vote for genocide, we don't back genocide, we don't go and support genocide. For those of you, there are many examples. I'm just going to do 20, just lay off these examples. There is a guy called Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson went and interviewed, for the first time, a Christian who lives in Palestine. And this Christian lady went on and started saying, guys, there's no problems between the Muslims and the Christians. Guys, they believe in Jesus too. And he went, really? They believe in Mary too. Really? They believe that the Zionists don't believe in Mary and Jesus. The Muslims do. Oh my God, I did not know that. And she keeps repeating until all Tucker Carlson, he's almost on the verge of doing what Najashi did. The difference between us and them is no thicker than this line. People are reading and saying, hang on a second. I didn't know this is what they believe. I didn't know this was what was going on. I didn't know this was the way Christians were being treated. I had no idea. Ibadallah, I cannot tell you. I have been across America to every state except New Hampshire. Apparently it's the Shadowlands. You must never go there, Simba. I'm joking. I don't know. New Hampshire is probably nice. Allahu A'lam. Sheikh Yasser can tell me. Americans across the country. Mr. Hamdi, I had no idea what was happening. Mr. Hamdi, I didn't know. Mr. Hamdi, I'm watching the videos and the images. And they start crying. Mr. Hamdi, I swear to you, I did not know this is what we were doing. Candace Owens, wama adrak, coming out and saying, wama adrak linguistically means, and do you know who Candace Owens is? It's an Arabic expert before anybody. I see some people who don't speak Arabic cringing. In any case. Candace Owens, she came and she said, no matter what argument you give me, there's nothing you can say to me that can make me believe that bombing the heads of children is correct. It's a very fitri argument. It's not a factual argument. It's factual on the basis that kids' heads are being bombed. But here is the strange thing, ya ibadallah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He put a fitra in every human being. But what Gaza has demonstrated is, we half believed it. Because when I watched that Norman Finkelstein episode with Candace Owens, because I said, guys, why do you think she suddenly... And he said, Sammy, listen, go watch the interview with Norman Finkelstein. That's the moment where she suddenly has the epiphany. And I watched it, and Norman Finkelstein starts with the facts. 1948, 1962, 1967, 1972, and she's back and forth. But the Zionists say, but the Zionists say, but the Zionists say. And then Norman Finkelstein changes tactics, and he says, Mrs. Owens, I know you're pregnant, and I know you're a mother. Mrs. Owens, is there any context that somebody can give you where somebody would bomb your kids and you would say that's okay? And she pauses for a second. She pauses. And then when she goes the following week to Piers Morgan, she tells him, Piers, you know I used to be a friend of the Zionists, but there's nothing you can tell me that justifies the blowing off kids' heads. Ibadallah, the da'wah works, which is why they want to ban TikTok, which is why Meta is changing its algorithm every single month or every single week.